Welcome to Small Biz Flash, the briefing for owners and managers on small business news, trends, and insights to make better decisions and increase their business's value. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. Thanks for joining me. This week, I talk with Damon Zick, the owner of Life Brand Academy, about the importance of building your personal brand. Many of us don't give much thought to our personal brand, instead spending a lot of time and resources on our companies. But neglecting our personal brand can cost us leads and ultimately sales. So today, Damon will tell us how to get started on the personal branding journey. That's coming up right after the news roundup. All right, let's dive in. The January jobs report was released last week, and it was on fire. The number of new jobs created soared to 517,000, pushing the unemployment rate down to a 53-year low of 3.4%. The news shocked experts who had predicted an increase in unemployment. Paychex also released its monthly small business wage data last week, revealing that the January one-month annualized hourly earnings growth for employees fell to 2.88%. The lowest level since 2020. This is a signal that wage inflation for employees of businesses with fewer than 50 workers is moderating. Xero, a cloud-based accounting platform, has published a quarterly update as part of its Xero Small Business Insights program. By aggregating and anonymizing data from tens of thousands of Xero small business subscribers, it found that sales growth for U.S. small businesses continued to slow and recorded its two smallest increases of the past 20 months in July and September 2022. The slowdown in sales growth is likely due to the impact of inflation, which is limiting the capacity of consumers to spend. We can expect more of the same in the coming months. While the job market remains mysteriously strong, consumers are running out of steam. Goldman Sachs estimates that by the end of this year, Americans will have spent 2/3 of the extra savings they were able to stash away during COVID. Walmart has launched an e-commerce site for small and medium-sized businesses called, appropriately enough, Walmart Business. The site will offer a curated assortment of more than 100,000 items, including office supplies and furniture, electronics, and facility needs. Companies can opt to join a premium membership for $98 annually, which gets them free, no minimum shipping. You can find more information on this and other stories in the news roundup by going to the links in the show notes. Small business owners, your finances are the cornerstone of your business. You need the bookkeeping pros at SBS Accounting and Advisors to keep your AP, AR, and financial statements on track. For 16 years, the good folks at SBS have been helping owners like you make better decisions and grow their profits. So go to sbsaccountants.com today to set up a free 30-minute consultation. Use the promo code FLASH to get 20% off your setup fee. Again, that's sbsaccountants.com. On today's show, we have Damon Zick. He is the owner of Life Brand Academy. It's a company that offers resources for people to discover and build their brand. And so, Damon, we're super excited to have you. This is a very timely topic, especially important for small business owners who a lot of times are the face of their company. So welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Adam. It's great to be here.
So let's jump right in because we've only got just a few minutes. And as I mentioned, most of the time for these small businesses where you maybe only have just a few employees or maybe even 20 or 30 or 40 employees, but the owner or maybe one of the executives is the face of the company. They're the head salesman or saleswoman. And so branding is so key. But if you don't do it right, sometimes it could do more damage than good. So let's start with just some really basics, and knowing we won't have time to get into all of this, but tell me how a personal brand can help the business, particularly for those folks that are maybe in a sales role.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question to get started, because as you said, like if you're the owner or if you're an employee for the business, right? Like you are one of the faces, right, that represent your product and like your service. And there's only so much time that we're all going to have, right, to either pour that into a personal brand or into creating content. So I would say whatever you do decide to invest in this area is going to be worth your time. Because really, the best way to think of your personal brand is it is your 24/7 salesman. I can almost guarantee that you won't physically meet your, every potential client or every potential employee or government contact. They won't necessarily meet you in person. They actually might find you online. And so the question is, are they going to like what they find? Are they either not going to find you or are they going to find like a ghost town with a half filled out profile with no picture? It doesn't tell me anything about your business. Like there's no content. And that's basically a lost lead or a lost potential employee because you passed on the opportunity to like teach someone about your brand and about your business.
And I think that's a great way to look at it. And there's so many people that just, for example, they might throw up a LinkedIn profile with just minimal information and just leave it there for a year or two. And their thought process is, well, I'm not in the job market or I'm not directly trying to sell something to my network. So why should I bother? And there's so many opportunities that they're passing up because of that. So what should the brand look like? And again, we're just scratching the surface here, and I would really encourage folks, we'll talk at the end about the 7 pillars of personal branding course that you developed, but just touch on briefly, what should the brand look like?
Yeah, I mean, this is really where it starts, right? Because we're all wired to process things visually. And so the same goes for your brand. And so kind of like a quick, easy example that I like to give is, let's say that you were going to meet a friend at a coffee shop. So before you go there, right, you're going to choose what you're going to dress like, what your hair is going to look like, probably even going to be thinking about what you'd like to talk about when you get there. So both consciously and subconsciously, right, you're thinking ahead of how you want to represent yourself to your friend. Well, I would probably argue that your online brand needs even more intentionality in terms of what signals do I want to give off to people when they either discover my, profile or see my content or see my conversations. And so just going to like the LinkedIn example, right? Like if you have a profile, and it's missing an image or it doesn't have a headline that tells me what your target audience is and what you're accomplishing or selling, right? Like these are all signals that your profile can send visually, which will encourage me, right, to want to reach out to you and to learn more about you or about your business.
Good stuff, absolutely. And again, we could talk just about that particular item for quite a long time. I've advised several folks on their LinkedIn profile, again, for an example, and there's so much to it. I mean, and it changes too. I mean, this is the thing, it's not a static kind of proposition where you can do it once and just leave it. You got to keep it updated, et cetera. So how do we make our brands sound authentic? I mean, obviously we don't want them to just sound authentic. We want them to be authentic. So how do we communicate that authenticity to the world?
Yeah, this actually might be one of the hardest parts of personal branding. And I'll admit that it's a journey that I'm still on of just what does my online brand sound like compared to just what me personally, right? Like what my personality and my voice sounds like. So this is really a journey that all of us go on because it's really a journey of identity. You're figuring out like what part of you want to communicate in your online brand, which doesn't need to communicate everything, but what it does communicate, it needs to be intentional and it needs to be driving towards a goal, right? Which, could be your business. It could be a story of like how you founded the business or like why you work in a certain field. Like it all leads back to your brand story. And so that's not a quick, one size fits all formula. That's a journey of you starting by just setting up your profile, creating content and finding what actually resonates in your story with other people.
And last question, just quickly before we wrap up, what is the proper amount of content that someone should be producing, or is there a good rule of thumb for that?
Yeah, this is really kind of all over the place. You see a lot of I see a lot of conversations about this. I'll just say that what I do is I post once a day, Monday through Friday. I schedule it in advance just so that I'm not losing a day because, things just went crazy. So I would say whatever you decide to do, if it's twice a day or twice a month, that you just get started with a schedule that works for you.
Right. And I think, too, just being consistent with something so that people, once they become accustomed to you publishing, that whatever that rhythm is that you're in and that people become used to, that you stick to that. Because if if they think that you're going to be publishing something once a week and then you go dormant for 2 months, then they're like, wait, what happened? And so that's probably also a pretty good practice, I would guess. Well, what we're going to do is in the show notes, we're going to have a link to Damon's YouTube page where you can watch a video about the 7 pillars of personal branding. We're also going to have his contact information and his LinkedIn profile, so you can check that out and know how to get in touch with Damon and get more information. And if you want him to coach you on your branding, you can get in touch with him. So we really, again, Damon, appreciate your time and your expertise. We'll have you back on again because we just scratched the surface and there's so much to this. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thanks for listening to Small Biz Flash. I'm your host, Adam Hewitt. If you enjoy the show, please help me to expand its reach by telling one other person about the podcast. I sure do appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.